Hello everyone, it's Richard here again. This is a ongoing theme. I've raised these ideas before, but it seems that people don't get it. For more House in particular, of a different bias, doesn't get it yet. So I think I can't have been clear enough. It's actually not easy to portray. So this is about the design of democracy, an ongoing theme of mine, as I say. I think the party political model is absolute bollocks. I don't see how it can work because it's a partisan system, so no one party can ever claim to represent the whole, which is nonsense. The Tories don't represent the Socialists and vice versa, at least not the same extent. So I'm wondering why I have parties at all, and why do you have whips and all this kind of coercion and tear the party line and so forth. So yeah, I think perhaps explain a bit more about how the actual governance works, because it's not crystal clear to me yet. I don't actually know whether these things will work or not. I do know the current system doesn't work. I think I know why, because it's got conflict built into it. You've got the government and the official opposition. So they're always opposed, always at loggerheads. You never work together. Well, they do behind the scenes sometimes. You do get cross-party support for bills sometimes. But on the whole, these parties feel obliged to represent a particular point of view, and this is just the way things are done so far. But it really does not work well. You get all kinds of chaos and dumb decisions and bias in these things. It's really quite shocking, I think. So I think I'll just reiterate what I think should happen. I want to see a system, a democracy, where we have independent MPs only. No more political parties. We don't need them. I just don't see how we need them. And this is where Phil gets a bit stuck, I think, because he thinks that it'd be difficult to actually coordinate all these MPs into one particular kind of direction, and then you have a debate. I'm not sure what the actual objection is, frankly, but I don't see the problem. Because let's take a particular issue, let's say housing. Now, every MP in the land, I'm damn sure, will have concerns about housing because his or her constituents will do so. And they'll write to the MPs and say they're having trouble with rent or mortgages or whatever. And the MP is then kind of morally obliged to raise the issue in the House of Commons. So it's a very kind of major concern. Many MPs will be concerned about it, want to debate the issue. So let's say someone proposes a debate, and there's some kind of mechanism to actually have a quorum that you need to a threshold that you need to exceed to get it to debate. I think that's already true, actually, but it's along those lines. And of course, the government of the day can still raise the issue because they've got MPs. And in fact, I don't really need to see why the government needs to actually issue bills. I could think any MP could do that in this more homogeneous system. I don't see why that's a problem. If they can get civil service support for drafting the bill, I think any MP could actually, raise propose a bill for discussion and debate, and then voting. Doesn't have to be the government. I see the government more as a management role. Ministers will take what laws are being passed and implement them, and raise the budgets and so forth. So sticking with this housing issue, let's say somebody raises the debate, and issue gets debated according to the actual timetable for business, which I presume is set by the government, or I'm not quite sure who sets that. Could be a kind of collective thing. But anyway, there's obviously there's going to be a limit to how many debates there can be, how many bills can be passed into law. Sheer time means that's true. There's time constraints, resource constraints, so you can't do everything in one setting. It's just not possible. Okay, I envision a kind of a to-do list, a priority list of things to do in urgent of importance and urgency. With the highest priority one being at the top, of course. So let's say the thing actually gets passed into law, and the government then has to implement it, passed by building new houses or refurbishing old ones or whatever the decision is. And the government itself can be composed of ministers who get promoted to the office. Now, this is where I get a bit purist, I think, because I think that random selection of MPs from a pool would help to minimise the chance of corruption. Because if one MP is known, likely to be, let's say, in the Tory party currently, and he or she wants to get into high office, to be a ministerial position, then the whips may take a look, or the senior party members, officials may look at the MP and his background or her background, and they say, yeah, okay, you're one of us, you can join. So there's always this kind of element of coercion or the carrot and stick approach. An MP can be persuaded to vote a particular way if he or she is promised a cushy job, or conversely, he or she can be told to vote a particular way, because if they don't, they'll have their dirty deeds exposed to the world, and they're ashamed and all this stuff. It's all quite sick, really. It's a very unhealthy system. So I think in practice that people may want to elect a prime minister. I think that's quite plausible, quite sensible. Makes sense in a way, because you can't just have anyone picked at random and you don't know how good they are. So I think people have to have the ability to vote for a particular prime minister in a general election. But once he or she is in place, that person can then choose some MPs to be in the cabinet, or some are chosen at random, or a mixture of the two. So it may be, I suppose, let's say in the new system a prime minister used to be a Tory, then he or she may be biased towards their Tory friends, and not the old Labour type or the Green type. I think that could happen. I'm not going to deny that. There's bound to be groups forming. That's inevitable. It's desirable. You've got to have groups like special interest group for green technology, for example, or green housing or whatever. So this is why I prefer the random approach. You have less choice over who gets appointed, and therefore less ability to actually be biased towards your particular point of view. So I'm thinking that the government, I hope that the government will be fairly representative of the whole. But I have to admit, I haven't quite thought through how that happens yet. But this is the trouble. This is all new. It's untried. I don't know whether it'll work or not. I think it will in principle. I'm just offering it as an alternative, because the current system does not work, in my view. It just can't work. It's just trash. It's so divided, so split, so confrontational. It just can't work in the long term. you get all kinds of problems. So for immigration, for example, you get this immigration issue right now. It's an issue. No denying that it's an issue. Many people are concerned about it in many countries. But quite what the solution is a bit debatable. But the current approach is obviously unworkable and unsound and what's the word? A crime against humanity, I guess. Criminal. So it's that particular issue is currently driven by the Tory party, the extreme version of it. So I think if we didn't have parties, we wouldn't have that particular approach to the immigration problem. The issue would have been debated as with other issues, and the conclusion would be, well, maybe we'll actually do something more sensible and allow these refugees to apply for asylum before they get here, be processed before they get here, and then we give them safe passage via ships or aircraft into this country, then find housing and work for them, employment. So I think it's an unusual new way of doing things. It's quite hard to actually get your head around it, even for me. It's you kind of left wondering, well, it's like, how do I get a particular issue raised in the House of Commons? My view is, well, if people actually use their MPs as their representatives, as they're supposed to be right now, and they are, strictly speaking, people vote for their MPs, strictly speaking, but in practice, as we all know, they vote for the party, which is why you have safe seats, in particular in Toryland, not exclusively, but often. There'll be seats which are Tory seats, doesn't matter who actually stands to fill them. It's irrelevant. As long as it's a Tory, then he or she will be held to represent the constituency. But if you don't have these party structures, you don't have these safe seats. It's not so safe. I imagine they won't change that much, so, if you have independent MPs, then I guess the kind of Tory type will still get voted in by the Tory constituency. But because there's no kind of artificial division, it's more likely that the other voters will, we've got a chance now, got some real influence here, got some real power now. So we can say we can actually vote for an MP rather than a party, and the MP is therefore more likely to represent the voters. At least that's what I think. So I'm sorry this is a bit rambling and confused. It's actually quite a clear picture of how it could work. I'm sure it will, but it needs some kind of practical input from people who actually run the House of Commons and the kind of government business people to actually see how it could work. But I think in principle, I don't see why. It could be done right now in principle. Every MP could be independent. They could all resign the party. The whip, unlikely, but it could happen. So how does the government get formed in that case? What happens there? So it's all rather odd. But yeah. If you take a small issue like say Corbyn's broadband proposal, give everyone free broadband access, which could be useful. So again, I envisage that some MP or other will actually raise the issue for debate, or it could be done via petition. That again could be beefed up. Right now, if you have a petition for some issue, you get 10,000 votes. It has to be a debate. You get 100,000. Sorry, it has to be responded to by the government. You get 100,000 votes. You get a debate. I think that debate should have a vote at the end of it. And it's the voting in a debate which concentrates the minds of the MPs. Because they discuss one particular issue. Obviously, they all have different viewpoints, as Phil rightly points out. But in the end, the bill will pass through several stages and be modified en route. But until it reaches a form where it can actually be accepted by the majority of the House. So I think it could work. I don't see why not, really. And as for budgets, well, the government, the Chancellor, will have to actually set the budget for the various ministers and departments and so forth. But again, that could be debated and approved by the House as a whole. And the Chancellor then actually implements and doles out the money as appropriate. So I really don't see, I really don't get what the objection is to this proposal. It's flexible, more flexible than the current system. You can still debate issues. You can still get bills raised and passed into law. You can have a kind of concentrated effort to actually discuss a particular issue. That's not a problem. And the voting record of the individual MPs will then be checked by their constituents and say, well, did this guy actually vote the way I wanted or not? If he did, yes, then I'll vote for him next time, next local election, next MP election. If he didn't, well, I'll choose someone else. So I think it actually improves the whole kind of power structure, myself. The individual MPs have more power, because there's less bureaucracy, not told what to do by the whips or so forth. Which means the people they represent will have more power, and the government will have less power, which is the way it should be, because it serves us, not as a kind of dictator, but as a servant. So yeah, I really don't get the objection too much. It's quite hard to grasp what Phil gets at, but well, for me it is. So you want you feel like, I'm sorry, but I actually don't get your objection. I don't see it at all. As far as I can see, if MPs can actually vote and debate things, then in naturally formed groups, those groups won't have the same power as they did with the parties, because the parties have voters directly supporting them. But the groups will still occur, and the MPs will, get together and discuss amongst themselves. Well, what should we do about transport, for example, or housing, or what's the best way forward with, green issues or whatever technology, whatever the point might be. So I see it to be more organic and, most importantly, more holistic. Because right now, we have civil war, thanks to Brexit. There's families up and down the land where parents are set against children, or brothers against sisters and so forth. It's really quite unpleasant and divisive. So I think this whole process is more healing, less confrontational, less division. The nation will settle down again, or nations, I should say. And slowly over time, people get used to the idea, and we have this kind of continuous government with less dramatic jumps to one way or the other. It's more continuous flow. It evolves in a slower fashion rather than jerks this way or that. And I think it's a much healthier, much better way of managing the country. It's more consistent. It's more representative, less confrontational, just better all round. Now, I always have to be corrected, of course, so if anyone wants to raise objections, then please do so in the comments below. But I think that's it. The purpose of democracy is about power, really. It's about giving individuals like me, some say in what goes on in our government, the governance of the country. They have some say right now, but not much. The party machines has much more say. They dictate what the MPs do to a large extent, and that's just sick. It really is sick, I think. I don't like the idea at all. So yeah, that's it. I hope you I hope that makes sense. It's a bit vague, a bit loose at the edges. I agree, but it's my problem is I don't have an example to draw upon, so I can't really say what the best approach is going to be in actual government circles. I have theories, I have ideas. It's all about building a model and debating the issue indeed. So if we ever get to discuss these ideas on a national scale, then clearly there's got to be debates in the media and in Parliament as to what we do, and probably a referendum too. Because this is one more case where you can justify having a referendum, because it's a major constitutional issue. And the constitution itself will have to be beefed up as well. That needs doing. Our constitution is actually utter crap. It's pathetic. Really, really poor. It allows people to get all kinds of crimes. It's appalling. So yeah, I think that's it. And I'll see you next time. Well, I'll talk to the phone and hope you listen. So bye for now, and subscribe, share, and comment, please. Please comment. Thank you. Bye.